When it comes to the Home Alone movies, I myself have very fond memories of the first two Home Alone movies. As a kid, I remember going and seeing the first Home Alone movie, the story of the character of Kevin McAllister, who has to fend off his home against these two burglars after his parents leave him home alone. And, the comedic tone and the serious moments, the great cast. It was definitely, and still is to this day, one of the greatest movies ever in the career of Macaulay Culkin. And they had a great cast with Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci. And this movie will forever be one of the best movies ever made. It had a very good sequel, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. And, years go by and they give us Home Alone 3, which everybody frowned upon and said was a very terrible film. I'll admit, when it came out, I did not like this movie at all. I didn't think it was needed if they couldn't get the original cast back. And I get what they were trying to do with a new kid and new characters and new location. But at the same time, I think it failed because, again, we didn't see the characters come back from Home Alone 1 and 2. And a lot of people really didn't know how to take this story, as it was a bit off the mark. And to be fair, this movie was by no means good. And just when you think these movies really were bad with Home Alone 3, you think years later that Hollywood would stop making these movies and just avoid any more damage to these films in general. They didn't learn from Home Alone 3, and they gave us in 2002 probably, and if not, one of the worst movies of all time, Home Alone 4, Taking Back the House. Now, when this movie came out, I had not heard that it was even in theaters. I had never even heard that they even made a Home Alone 4 movie. And when I started to hear about it, and I remember it was on TV, and I was going to give it a try. I was going to watch it, but I kept wondering, how come is it that they're doing this now? And could Macaulay Culkin actually be believable at a more older age as Kevin McAllister? Could the story of him thwarting burglars again be believable? I soon watched the first 5-10 minutes of Home Alone 4, and I became very, very let down, and it was very hard to watch. This movie, from start to finish, was god-awful. This movie was absolutely cringy, had none of the enjoyable things that made the first two films even that good. Even this movie, it made Home Alone 3 look good. This movie, from start to finish, was garbage on all levels. And I'm going to tell you why that is, because we all have seen it. Now, I am going to say one nice thing about it. The cast members, they did a very, very believable job with the acting. They were brought in to do a job. They obviously gave the best performance they could. It's never been about the actors involved in this movie for me. But what really ruined it was the constant mistakes from the writing, the impossible realization that they're naming Home Alone 1 and 2 years previously, when Kevin and Marv first see each other after Marv and his girlfriend go flushing down the stairs in the mansion, and he looks up and he sees Kevin for the first time, and they acknowledge their previous encounter, yet both of them, the actors involved, are younger than what the actors were in Home Alone 1 and 2, and yet they acknowledge their previous encounters, but it's years later and they're not older. I do not understand what idiot in the writing team or the movie company that thought that this was going to be a very good idea. It does not make any sense. This movie, from start to finish, had some of the most impossible explanation and story outcome that I have ever seen in a movie in my entire life. This movie had you believe that somehow Kevin and Marv were younger than what they were in Home Alone 1 and 2, yet they acknowledged the events of those two films. And that's not the only thing that they screwed up on big time. They replaced Daniel Stern with French Stewart, which I have nothing against French Stewart. I didn't really follow much of his films. I heard he's a great actor, but he was clearly not the right guy to play Marv. And I had heard that they had asked Daniel Stern to reprise the role of Marv, and he shot it down instantly after reading the script, and he wanted no part of it. And I think he made a very good call, because this movie, it could have done damage to his career. Marv was turned from a burglar into somebody that wanted to kidnap some prince of a royal family. That does not make any sense, because that's not what Marv was about. Marv was about basically burglarizing homes in 1 and 2 with his partner, Harry, who also is missing in this movie. They mention his character, but Joe Pesci is nowhere to be seen in this movie. Marv ends up having a girlfriend who we've never even heard of in the first two films. And the idea that they want to kidnap somebody is a much more greater severity than burglarizing homes, to where they would have been caught much easier. And the idea that Kevin is living with his family, half of his family is missing. There's like, where's Uncle Frank? Where's his wife? Where's the neighbor next door in the first Home Alone film? The old man that Kevin was afraid of and then he befriended at the end of the film. How come we don't hear about the woman he made friends with in New York? The woman with the pigeons. There's no mention of them. It's just Kevin's mom, his sister Megan, and his brother Buzz. Everybody else is gone in this movie. There's no mention of the characters. What happened to them? Why did they not mention them? Let alone how it is that Kevin is relying on high tech inside of this mansion to thwart off the burglars, where in the previous films, he was about constructing traps all by himself. He didn't need tech. He didn't need any of that. That goes against what Kevin McAllister was about. Why would Kevin need technology when he could just make all these traps again? Or bring in some new ones that he can construct? It goes against everything the first two films and even the third film was about. And it's lazy writing. The kid looks nothing like Kevin. I forgot who the actor was, but obviously he was nowhere close to what Macaulay Culkin's Kevin McAllister was. This movie botched everything. And the idea that Kevin's father would leave his mother to go live with some rich snob girlfriend played by Alyssa Milano, that doesn't even seem like something that Kevin's family would even be about, let alone his dad. His dad and mom were always close in the first two films, yet he leaves her to go to some rich snob woman's house. Kevin goes to live with his dad and abandons his mother, when the idea would be that he would be trying to get them back together by any means necessary. And the only thing that brings them together is when Kevin thwarts a scheme by Marv and his girlfriend trying to kidnap a woman. You see how terrible that this crap really is? And it was designed to actually push a sitcom if in the event that this movie went over, and it failed. I think that this movie also was what was the end of me watching any Home Alone sequels. I know they made part 5. I know there's even another one that I heard about. I did not even waste time seeing them. I refuse to watch these movies ever again. I don't want another sequel, and I sure as hell don't want a remake of the 1990 film. If you guys are going to stop at anywhere, you can give 3 a try. 3 is all right. But don't go to Home Alone 4, Taking Back the House. Do not watch this movie. It is cringy. It is horrible. Decent acting, but this movie is riddled from start to finish with the biggest mistakes ever and explanations that do not make any sense. This movie failed. It was hard for me to watch, and it killed my enjoyment in the Home Alone films. I don't want to see another movie like this ever again. And if you all ever going to see this movie, skip it, because if you watch it, you're going to hate it with a passion. This has been my rant video, guys, on this crappy movie. Please avoid it and don't watch it. Thanks again for watching. I'll talk to you later.